Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing really well. Today I wanted to talk about the riff that absolutely changed everything for me playing guitar and when I was first starting to learn guitar and stuff like that. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I was having guitar lessons. My nan, when I was younger, I was about 14. I didn't have a whole lot of hobbies, and my nan, she thought it'd be a good idea for me to start playing an instrument. So one day, I think it was a Saturday, I got up and she said, "Right, we're gonna go down to the music shop, and we're gonna buy you an electric guitar." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And she said, "You're gonna have lessons. I'm gonna book in with a tutor for you, and it's gonna be something good for you to do." Because I didn't really like a whole lot of things. I didn't really have a whole lot of hobbies or many friends or anything like that. So I went and got my first guitar and I went for guitar lessons, and I knew it was something that I really wanted to do. I was really enjoying it, and the guy who was teaching me, he could play so well. But it was just his playing that I was hearing at that point, which was really cool, and I knew I wanted to play like that. But as far as bands and stuff like that, I didn't really have a whole lot of influences at that point. I was just hearing my guitar teacher's guitar playing that I really liked, and then, learning your AC/DC, Smoke on the Water, Seven Nation Army, all those sort of riffs that I enjoyed. But I hadn't found the thing that clicked with me yet. So I was at a friend's house a little bit later on, and he already played guitar. He'd been playing for like a year or something like that, and I think his dad played as well. So he was a little bit more wised up musically and with bands and stuff like that. And like I said, it was when YouTube was just starting to become a thing, and he was just like playing different songs and stuff like that on YouTube. And the next minute, we were in the kitchen, and I heard the most crushing guitar sound I had ever heard. Like, those moments where you just hear a riff and it's kind of like a I found God moment, I want to say. Yeah, so I'll play the riff and yeah, let's talk about it. And there you go, guys. You probably knew that one was coming. Sad but true, Metallica. Oh my God. Compared to what I had been listening to, which was like rock music, and that was sort of the direction I was going. I liked a bit of AC/DC and Deep Purple and all that sort of stuff, which is cool. But I hadn't found anything quite like that just absolutely floored me. So that thing's blaring out of the laptop speakers, and I said, "What the hell is that?" And he was like, "Oh, that's Metallica." And I was like, "Metallica who?" And he's like, "Metallica, really cool band." So that was it. So I was like, "Right, let me get on the computer," and I plugged my headphones in. And I just listened to that song on repeat. Just all of it, the aesthetic, the band themselves, this cool guy with the long blonde hair and this big fat guitar shape I hadn't seen before. All of it was just, for a really impressionable young kid like me, I was just like so wide-eyed to it. So at that point, I was like, right, this is what I want to do. This Metallica, that's it. That's what I want to do, right? So I went back to my guitar teacher, and at the start of the lesson, he'd say, "What do you want to do?" And I'd be like, "Have you heard of Metallica?" And he's like, vaguely, you know. I said, "Sad but true. I want to do that. That's what I want to play. I want to play Metallica." And he was like, "Right, okay, let's do it." So that sort of fire, discovering that and that band, that fire to learn that style of music was massive and integral to my guitar playing to where it is now. So fortunately, my friend had a couple of Metallica albums. He had Justice for All, Black Album, Load, and Master of Puppets. So I managed to get CD rips of those and took it home with me, and that was it. Just bedroom door shut, me and my guitar just trying to figure out this stuff. And the frustration that came with this song especially, it was pretty early on in my guitar playing and my lessons and stuff. And I looked for all tabs online and stuff like that. And I knew that some of them were right, but I just didn't understand why my guitar did not sound like Metallica, did not sound like Sabbath True. It sounded all out of key. I had no idea it was drop tuned. I remember sitting on my bedroom floor with my first guitar, my Encore Strat knockoff, right, with my earphones in, just like really trying to decipher what was going on. I suppose a little bit like now I do with my covers. I sit with the cover, I sit with my guitar, and I listen really, really close to try and figure out what's going on. I was trying to do exactly the same thing, and I just did not understand why my guitar did not sound like that. So then, through lessons and stuff like that, I learned, well, it's a D standard tuning. They tune it down a whole step. For anybody who's new to that, that song, along with a couple of others, is tuned to a D standard tuning. So usually you've got A440 tuning, right, which is E standard. So you've got E, A, D, G, B, E. They're tuning all the strings down a whole step down. So now you've got D, C, G, F, A, D, which makes for a really low, crushing, heavy sound. Another thing as well with music at that point, especially in that genre, it wasn't about speed for me. It was about the slow, aggressive, grooving riff, I think, that I was really drawn to, and just how dark it was. I know when I got into that song, like, people would say to me, "Oh, Enter Sandman, that's the one you want to listen to. That's the best one on the album." And I was like, man, that one's okay. It's got the fun factor to it, but it just didn't have the same slow, sludging, dark groove to it, I want to say, the attitude. So when I finally figured out how to tune my guitar down, what came with that was, I think I was using nines on my guitar, so the strings were flapping all over the place like spaghetti, right? But the moment of absolute victory, because I knew I was playing the riff right. I knew I was doing all that right. I could see it in the videos as well. But the moment of victory, though, when I tuned my guitar down, the strings were all loose, flapping around, right? And I played the riff, and it sounded like it. It sounded right. That moment of victory is a moment that I will never forget. And it's probably one of the most important moments that I've had since the start of playing guitar and going down this whole musical path, if you like. So what is it about this riff that we really like? Because I know a lot of you guys like this song as well. Well, it's your typical heavy metal chord, right? It's your standard power chord down the bottom there, open position. But it's really the palm mute. If you've got your gain turned up and you're playing at loud volume and you get those... If you get those palm mutes right, it just takes what could have been a very boring riff into something completely different. And it's that sort of groove that kind of guided me through into like other songs and stuff like that I really enjoyed. Like The God That Failed, for instance, really underrated song, right? But it's got the same... It's that slow plod, I want to say, that slow groove that is just so aggressive and heavy that really, really drew me. Another song like Devil's Dance, it's kind of an odd one, the way it moves, the way James and Kirk's guitars are like coming in and out and playing off of each other on the hard pan. But again, it's that same slow grooving riff that I absolutely loved, and it branches off of Sad But True, I guess. So another thing that I wanted to mention now is with how sort of... I don't know how big a moment that was for me, hearing that riff for the first time, and it kind of like completely streamlined and changed my view of guitar and what could be accomplished and where I wanted to head with it. I wanted to say if there's anybody who's new to guitar on here, and you're having lessons a little bit like I was and enjoying it, knowing it's something that you want to do, but you haven't quite heard the band yet, or screw that, the sound, just the sound that you want to achieve, keep your ears open. Listen to as much music as possible. Hey, it might not even be heavy metal. It might be funk, classical, jazz, I don't know, right? But whatever it is that sticks and raises the hairs on the back of your neck, that's the thing that's going to keep you sort of glued to it. That's going to be the chase, a little bit like I was forever just chasing this riff at that point. I was just chasing it. Why does my guitar sound right? Oh, it's down tuned, that sort of thing. And then you learn that one, and then you find other songs that are similar to it or have the same sort of attitude. It's that sort of passion and drive that's going to carry you through on guitar, and to keep going with it. I had a few moments in my teaching career where I had a few students who were learning to play, but they didn't really like music. So stylistically, when I'm teaching them the basics, like your scales and your chords and all that, when you're saying, well, what do you like? How can we apply this to what you're into? Because it's all about, at the end of the day, the kind of guitar player that you want to become, right? There's nothing more difficult when somebody's like, oh, I don't really like music, or I don't listen to music. There's nothing more difficult than trying to inspire or try and convey across why it's important to learn your chords and your scales and stuff like that when there's no sort of end game to it. So what I would say is, anybody who hasn't quite found the band, the sound they like yet, just keep going. Keep going with learning guitar. Learn all the important stuff, but keep your ears open and never write anything off. It was a bit of a freak accident, I suppose, me just stumbling across that song and overhearing it and going, hey, what's that you've got going on there? Which really was, at that point, the stars aligning for me at that point. And the other thing I'd say as well is don't just listen to the singles. There's a band that you kind of like, but the songs are okay. I think Sad But True was a single on that record, but listen deeper. You'll go through the whole album, listen to all the riffs, yeah? You'll like The God That Failed. That is slammed right at the back of that album, and to me, that's my favorite song on that album, I think. Don't write albums off. Load and Reload was exactly the same for me. I didn't know. I was just given these CDs, these 4 CDs that sounded drastically different. Master, Justice, the Black Album, Load. I didn't have any preconceived idea that the Black Album was the sellout album and then Load was the country album. Yeah, as people have said. I just listened to it and I enjoyed it and I loved it. And you know what? As soon as I put Load on and the Outlaw Torn came on, riff, man. Again, slow, grooving riff. And if you listen deep and if you go right the way through albums, you'll find all sorts in there that you had no idea that was actually in there. So if I'd have just like wrote that album off, for instance, because everybody has just said, oh no, Justice for All, that's the only album you want to listen up to, I'd have missed out on that riff. So just listen to what you enjoy. Yeah, if there's something that you want to get into, just go for it. Don't listen to other people. Go and make your own mind up. Go and listen to it. Hey, you might go and listen to Load and absolutely hate it. Cool, at least you gave it a chance. You might listen to the Black Album. You might listen to Injustice for All and say, Christ, that is far too proggy for me, and not get into it. And it might be more like the sort of the more song-orientated stuff that you enjoy, like the Black Album. And the cool thing is that I want to mention is riffs like this and bands like this. Metallica were a fantastic gateway band for me to get into all the other bands that I'm into, Slipknot, Bullet, Black Sabbath, that sort of thing. The excitement in finding out what inspired that band and what came after that band. Case in point of this, here's one for you. Alter Bridge, Watch Your Words, I think the song is called. That's off their first record. Go and listen to that song, get past the intro, and go and listen to the riff on there. That riff belongs on the Black Album. It's almost like a Black Album riff that didn't make the cut or something like that, and Mark Tremonti stumbled across it. Go and listen to that riff and tell me down in the comments what you think of it, because I think just guitar tone and the way it grooves, it sounds just like something that could have been a Sad But True or a God That Failed, that sort of thing. The cool thing as well that you get to learn is why things sound the way they do. That song stands out on that album for a reason, and it is because of the low tuning, but also it's got a double drop D guitar sat in there. So on top of the bass that's taking care of the lower register, you've got a guitar that's, I call it the thickener. It's a guitar where you're actually tuning that D down a whole other octave, right? And that is adding a thickness to that sort of wall of sound that you're listening to. That sort of stuff is super fun for me to figure out and find online and stuff like that and learn about. I know for my cover, I'd done a couple of Black Album songs before that. I think I'd already done The God That Failed, and that was fine. Sad but true, I just could not get it to sound right. I just couldn't work it out. I was using exactly the same tone print, if you like, that I used for The God That Failed, which is a tone match by the DML Metal Guitar channel. If you haven't seen his work, go check it out. I've used his tones for my Metallica stuff exclusively. So that's why it sounds so close, or like I'm not even playing, as some people have said. So yeah, go check his work out. It's absolutely fantastic, and you can use it for free on Bias Effects. So I was using exactly the same Black Album tone, which is a tone match to that album, as I'd done on God That Failed, and it just didn't sound right. I just could not get it to work. So I thought, well, hey, why don't we try adding more guitars? So I added the double drop D guitar on there. I tuned one of my guitars, I think it was the Epiphone with the heavy strings on it. I just tuned that thing all the way down, and I just added it onto this wall of guitars that I already had tracked. And stuff like that. It's just super interesting, just learning along the way. It's amazing just what one song can teach you, and how that album kind of sits as like this brick wall of sound. There's still dynamics going on through it. Bob Rock encouraged the band to use different tunings. You've got E flat for The God That Failed. You've got whole step down for Sad But True. That sort of thing, learning, and then learning about what extra work goes into it, like putting a double drop D guitar in there just to add to the thickness of the sound. That sort of stuff I absolutely find fascinating, and it's that sort of thing that enables me to carry on and continue to be fascinated with a band that I've been listening to for, I don't know, for 12 years now. So all that being said, let's just enjoy the riff one more time, shall we? So there you go. There it is, guys. Slow and heavy and outright inspiring, in my opinion. And let me know as well what riffs inspired you. What was the eureka moment for you with finding an artist and just wanting to play like them and eventually learn from them and grow your own style? Let me know what songs, what riffs, what bands, what musicians. Yeah, whose writing style do you like? What made you think, right, guitar is for me? I want to know, because I love talking to you guys down in the comments. Come find me on Instagram. That's where you're going to get all my updates and stuff like that. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for your support. Welcome to everybody who's new, who's subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.